Hello, my name is Peter Belohlavek, and this lecture is about the use of the concept of teaching hospitals in business as a superior education for individuals who already have fulfilled the formal professional education. There is a huge difference between professional education and superior education. The basic difference is that superior education deals, in the terms we use, deals with the education in the field of solving complex problems, meaning dealing with complex adaptive aspects of businesses. This approach requires an action approach because a theory-practice approach drives nowhere when you deal with complexity, where the boundaries of a fact are open, the elements are integrated in an interdependent way, and they all have to exist in order to make something happen. Paradigmatic examples of adaptive aspects, complex adaptive aspects in businesses are the commercial activities, research and development, growth, strategies, and all those activities that deal with business as an adaptive entity where the interaction with the environment requires influencing the environment while being influenced by it. The final goal of the teaching hospitals is install adaptive knowledge in the mind of the participant he can use in a basically intuitive way because it has been stored in the long-term memory, and as such it is available if it is meaningful, if the relationships with the environment have been apprehended, and the individual is able to integrate fundamental knowledge that deals with the concept of what a person needs to do and technical analytical knowledge he needs to have in order to apprehend the fundamental knowledge. Superior education implies, therefore, a complex problem solution approach. This complex problem solution approach requires, on the one hand, being able to do conceptual diagnosis that deal with a logical approach to reality, understanding the logic of the Unicist logic of a business in order to define what is possible to be achieved and how to achieve it. Conceptual diagnosis deal with the fundamentals of some aspects of their business and integrate these fundamentals with the technical, analytical, with the systemic diagnosis in order to find a way that the diagnoses are fully reliable, and it requires dealing with solutions. This seems to be a contradictory approach to learning, meaning to learn the management of something that is complex, you need to have in mind a solution and not beginning with the diagnosing of the problem. You need to have a solution. That's why this approach is functional for all those people who have the technical knowledge and who have the experience in order to enter the complex aspects of reality. Complex problem solution implies ending with a business process solution. Without having a business process solution, there is nothing that is useful, that is meaningful. And this process can only be defined if there is a functional strategy that solves the problem in terms of the dynamic with the environment, and there has been designed an adequate architecture that sustains the structure, providing the necessary utility, solidity of the solution, and the necessary aesthetic in terms of completing what people need to make happen. Conceptual diagnoses are the maximal strategy in teaching hospitals. Teaching hospitals, after we have defined what they work with, are homologous to the teaching hospitals in medicine. But the participants learn while they build solutions, meaning the core of the teaching hospital is providing solutions. The learning is the secondary, the side effect of the teaching hospitals. This requires that every patient that enters into a teaching hospitals ends being cured, meaning the solution has to be found. The solving of the problem is the goal of a teaching hospital, and the participants have the chance to learn from this solving. Complex problem solving implies dealing with the nature of things, dealing with a logical approach to businesses, which allows having structures that are cross-cultural and timeless and allow transferring the learning process to other homologous cases. This approach is extremely simple, but requires being extremely focused on really solving problems. People who use learning processes as processes to find ideas do not fit into a teaching hospital. The teaching hospitals have been designed and are designed as a model for superior education for all those people who need to solve complex problems in organizations. That's why they are for the superior management and for the high potentials of organizations. The benefit of the teaching hospital is that the solution it produces have an economic value, meaning the teaching hospitals are basically self-financed by the solutions that are produced. And the learner is responsible for doing what is necessary to provide a solution. And the counselors and the experts who participate in the process are responsible for ensuring that the solution works. Meaning, the resident doctor, meaning the participant, is responsible for providing solutions, but he has a backup. He is backed by the counselor and the expert who sustains these solutions. The great advantage of the Unicist approach to superior education in business is that it deals with concepts that have been researched and provided in the hugest research ever done in the field of complexity, developing the structure of the concepts of all the functions that deal with human behavior in the field of individual, institutional and business behavior, and social behavior. This ontogenetic maps base allows providing the protocols, the basic protocols to deal with a complex solution to produce results. It includes necessarily a systemic diagnosis using the tools the participants learned in their professional training. These, uh, these systemic diagnoses are compared with the conceptual diagnosis and have to be consistent. When they are not consistent, the diagnoses have to be rebuilt. The systemic diagnoses include the technical diagnosis, the non-destructive test, the validation tests based on technical analytical knowledge the participants have. And the fundamental diagnoses are based, the conceptual diagnoses are based on fundamental diagnoses that use destructive tests in order to define the limits of the diagnosis that has been done and use conceptual knowledge based on the genetic map base I mentioned before. This approach is based on a logical approach to businesses. This logical approach to businesses was developed exceeding the empirical approach that pre-existed and uses the empirical approach to deal with the systemic aspect of businesses and the logical approach to do with the adaptive aspect of businesses. We found during the 40 years, almost 40 years, we have been using this approach that has been improving and allowed developing the necessary methods, methodologies, and ontologies of the learning processes. We found different levels of solutions that can be provided in teaching hospitals and define the maturity of the participants in their learning process. The first level of maturity implies being able to develop empiric solutions, meaning empiric solutions implies that the system works although the cause-effect relationships are unknown. The second level, which includes the first level, is dealing with analytic solutions. These analytic solutions are based on dividing the problems into parts in order to be understandable and manageable and reintegrating them in a final solution. The systemic solutions is the third level, which includes the empiric and the analytic solutions, implies having found what we can call the variables of the problem, considering that the problem is ruled by cause-effect relationships among these different variables that participate. This approach allows providing secure solutions when the problem, the complex problem, has been transformed before into a systemic problem. And finally, the conceptual solution is the superior level people can achieve to learn, allows to find, to deal with to find the nature and to deal with it, to the nature of the process, and building a solution that provides an additional added value and provides a structure that allows from then on enter into a continuous improvement process that goes beyond repairing processes. Continuous improvement has two basic aspects. One simple aspect that deals with the repair of problems that exist, and one complex aspect that deals with expanding the boundaries of the solutions in order to improve processes beyond the level of operation where you are working with. All these teaching hospitals are technology-driven, meaning technology is the core of these teaching hospitals. It is a place where people experience the technologies, and if you consider that the complex residencies, the complex teaching hospitals require that a specialist in heart diseases requires a training between 3 and 5 years, depending on the country, don't imagine that a teaching hospital is a way of making one or two cases and solving something. Cases do not allow dealing with complexity. Cases are a way to understand the variables of systemic problems. They are dysfunctional to deal with complexity. Real cases need to be lived, need to be experienced in order to apprehend the nature of things and then transfer this knowledge to the fields where the individual needs to work. Thank you. This is an input I wanted to provide to give access to what we consider is the next step of superior education in business.